Hello everyone, my name is Alyssa with Every Stride Counts. I'm a certified equine bodyworker. Today I want to show you 3 resistance stretches that you can do with your horse at home. These are excellent stretches to do before and after a ride or before your farrier appointment or really just any time you're out interacting with your horse. I really like these stretches. Now with basically any kind of stretching, the purpose of these resistance stretches is to increase muscle length and flexibility. And by doing that, we can do some amazing things like reduce muscle pain, stimulate blood flow, increase muscle tone and suppleness, and lengthen the fascia that surrounds the muscles. More specifically, these stretches I'm going to show you are, number 1, easy to do on your own without a helper. Number 2, they're pretty straightforward and easy to get right. And number 3, they create a situation where the horse can easily tell you how much and how intense of a stretch he wants to do. And this is by far the most important one. We always want to listen to the horse and let him tell us what he's comfortable with. So without further ado, I'm going to go catch a horse and then we'll get started. The first stretch I want to show you is something I call a wither pull or wither lean. There's quite a lot of muscles that we're going to impact with this one, so I'm not going to name them all. But a few of the biggest ones we're going to affect are going to be the trapezius thoracis, the triceps brachii, the extensor muscles of the foreleg, and the cranial portion or the forwardmost portion of the latissimus dorsi. So I'm going to use rounded hands and nice soft fingertips, and I'm going to wrap my hands around the top of his withers. And the key for all of these stretches is going to be easy on and easy off. So with that in mind, I am going to gently start leaning back, pulling his withers toward me. So what will happen is he's already starting to put weight into his opposite leg and lean against me. And as he does that, I'm going to add a little bit more strength into pulling him toward me. And he matches that again. So I'm going to do a little bit more. So we are creating a situation where he can stretch that side of his body opposite from me. And this is stretching all of those powerful shoulder muscles and upper leg muscles we talked about, and even a little bit into his lower neck as well. I usually hold this stretch for 30 seconds to a minute, just depending on how the horse is behaving, and if it seems like he likes it, he seems like he likes it. Now remember, it's easy on and easy off. So when I'm ready to let go, I'm not just going to let him go suddenly so that he gets knocked out of balance and lands hard on that right side. That's just not very polite, and it's really just going to undo all this great stretching that you just put the effort into. So instead, I'm going to gently let him go back to neutral, and then we can let him go. The cool thing is that even though I can really feel it in my arms that I'm putting a lot of weight into this wither pull, it can be really hard to see. But when I let him go back to neutral, you can really see just how much I was pulling him and how much he was stretching by that force of resistance. And then we would go to the other side and do the same thing. I'm going to do that off camera, and I'll see you guys in just a second for the next stretch. Well, I ran out of time the other day to finish this video, so it's a few days later now and a whole lot warmer. And my horse changed colors. So this is Finn, and he's going to help us with the rest of the video. So we just had a nice stretch with the wither pull technique, and now we're going to move on to the next stretch. It's going to look pretty familiar. We're going to do the same thing we just did for his shoulders, but now on his hindquarters. Now this one's going to be a little bit harder, especially if your horse is pretty well muscled like this one, but you can still do it, I promise. My hands have to be in a little different shape for this one. Instead of rounded hands to get around his withers, I'm going to be pretty flat. I'm going to set my hands on the highest point of the pelvis. By the way, this is called the tuber sacral. And just like we did with his withers, I'm going to pull him gently my direction. We're impacting a lot of muscles with this one too, but some of our biggest players are the biceps femoris, the tensor fasciae lata, the extensors of the hind limb, and the gluteus superficialis. Now, just like he did with his front end, he's counteracting my pulling by leaning away from me, which is activating a nice deep stretch throughout his hindquarter muscles on the side opposite from me. And as he leans into it, I'll bring him toward me some more. This one's definitely a little harder for me to do, especially because this horse is pretty well muscled, so there's not a whole lot for me to hold on to on his tubersacral, not to mention he's a little bit tall. Again, it's easy on, easy off. When I'm ready to let go of him, I'm not just going to let go abruptly and send him stumbling onto that other side. I'm going to gently let him roll back to neutral, and then I can let go of him. And just like on his front end, we can really see when we release the stretch just how much those muscles were lengthened, because we can see them contract again to hold him in a neutral position. Now we do the same thing on the other side. And then we'll move on to the final resistance stretch of the day. So we've done a few stretches on the lateral aspects of the horse, which is just a fancy way of saying the horse's sides. Now we're going to finish off with a longitudinal stretch, which is a fancy way of saying long ways. We're going to do that with a tail pull. Once again, we're going to impact a lot of muscles all the way through his body, but some of our biggest targets are going to be the semitendinosus, the longissimus dorsi, the multifidus thoracis and lumborum, and the trapezius thoracis and cervicis. I want to add a disclaimer to this one. If your horse is nervous about having its tail handled, this might be one that you skip. However, I want to point out that often horses that don't like their tails being touched can benefit the most from a tail pull exercise because it helps to release tension all through their body. This horse behind me is a little bit tense around his tail, but he's not worried about it, and so I feel comfortable with proceeding with this. But I'm going to leave that up to you. You know your horse, you know yourself, and you know your situation. So just be safe and be smart. Like I said, this horse is pretty unconcerned, so I'm going to go ahead and get behind him. Now, I like to start with a little wiggle on the tail, just to let them know I'm back here, and I'm going to start pulling in a minute. And I even do this with horses that are completely tension-free in their tails. Now, the important thing with a tail pull is that we want to pull the tail at about the same angle as his hindquarters, and more specifically, it's the angle of his sacral vertebrae. Mainly, we want to avoid pulling the tail too high because that can injure the muscles and ligaments that support the tail. We want to avoid pulling it too low because really that targets different muscles, and our goal here is to really lengthen the entire spine. And we also want to avoid pulling side to side because, again, if we do it wrong, we can potentially cause injury to those muscles and ligaments. So we're at the correct angle now, and our rule is easy on, easy off. So I'm going to gradually start leaning backward, and I can immediately feel him start to lean forward against me. So I'm going to lean back a little bit more. And this is one that if you and your horse are comfortable with it, you can really put just about your entire body weight into it. And I hold this again for about 30 seconds to a minute. Now, as I pull on his tail and he resists by leaning forward, he's lengthening his entire top line, which is just excellent. If you ever get the chance to watch someone else do a tail pull while you're at the front end of the horse, you can see the horse engaging his descending and transverse pectorals and the lower portion of the brachiocephalicus to stabilize himself. It's really cool. Now, this one is especially rude if we were to release him suddenly. So we are going to gradually back off so that he can come back to neutral, and then we can let him go. Thanks for joining me today. I hope you learned something that you can try on your horse at home. Stay safe, practice empathy, and have a great ride.